WWRR, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, WMMZ, Berwick, Bloomsburg, Hazleton, WYCK, Plains.
Powered by Mohegan Sun Poano.
The River, 105 and 103.5.
This is Music on the Menu on the River.
Timothy, where on earth did you go?
Featuring Northeast PA's best artists.
Maybe, never mind. She can move me like the stereo, like a song on the radio. She's an angel in the morning, yeah, that's right.
And now, here's your host, Alan K. Stout.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Music on the Menu on the River. Alan K. Stout with you as I always am, Sunday nights, 9 to 10. Hanging out with D.C. Taylor. D.C., good to see you.
Good evening, Alan. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there. It was 12 days ago on October 6th that we lost Eddie Van Halen. And I came on the air with you that day, and we talked about it a little bit during your show. My show, which aired last Sunday, had already been recorded, so we didn't talk about it on the show last Sunday. So this is our first show that we're doing since Eddie passed. And I was thinking about it all week, and I really wanted to do something special tonight. So we're going to do something tonight that we have never done before. I've been doing this show since 2004. So actually early 2000, almost 17 years now, okay. Really. And we're going to dedicate tonight's whole program to Eddie. I'm not going to play any music from local artists tonight, which I've never not done on the show before. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk to musicians from northeastern Pennsylvania about Eddie Van Halen and about his musical legacy and about what he meant to them as a fan and as a musician. And so, Eddie broke the rules when he played the guitar. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking to myself, what a better way to honor him on our show than to break the rules a little bit, and they're my rules, So,
nice.
So, I was the one who decided this is what I wanted to do 17 years ago. And so tonight we're changing it for King Edward. DC, well, you and I just talked on the show a couple of weeks ago about, we were talking about what artists we listen to the most. Uh-huh. And you said it was Van Halen.
Yeah.
This was maybe a month ago on the show. We had this conversation.
Yep. Yeah.
How did you feel, last Tuesday?
Throughout my life is, it's, if you tally up how the number of minutes of music I've listened to, a very large percentage of that, like I had to think about it. A lot of that was Van Halen.
Got a couple months worth of Van Halen time.
Yeah, because I was born in 1974. I probably started to become aware of rock and roll music about 1978. So I think Van Halen had a major release in around 78.
That was the year of their debut album.
Yeah, so they were all over the radio. Rock radio. My older brother listened to the rock stations. I was still obviously trying to find, and it just kind of got into my brain, starting about age 4, and then it just kind of followed. The Van Halen music kind of followed me. I started listening to Top 40 radio. Some of their songs went to top. Well, like Jump in 1984, for instance. Yeah. And then my brother was like, well, they got a whole bunch of better songs beside, that song was wonderful. And they got it. And so, of course, I had to explore, and I borrowed all his Van Halen tapes and then
digging in a little bit.
Yeah. And then I worked at a rock station down the dial, you and I down there 20 years ago. And, and we were, Van Halen every hour pretty much.
I remember when Me Wise Magic came on, we were playing it. Uh-huh. And it was pretty exciting to have that song come out.
So at the time. Yeah. So it has just been, I would say Van Halen's probably the artist I've listened to most throughout my life.
They've been important to me too. I saw them 6 times in concert, every lineup. Saw them with Dave, the original lineup, then saw them with Sammy and saw them with Gary, then back with Dave and Wolfgang. Interviewed them a couple of times, interviewed Alex, interviewed Sammy, interviewed Eddie twice. We're going to play some snippets of that during the show tonight. Had the Van Halen necklace when I was a kid and the posters in my room, and bought 1984 the day it came out, the magazines, everything. So, we're gonna spend the whole hour talking about Eddie Van Halen tonight, and not just DC and I. We got 15 local guitarists who are going to share their thoughts on King Edward. Well, let's get to the music. Let's hit the ground running. Van Halen here on Music on the Menu with Unchained from 1981 from the Fair Warning record. Van Halen played Montage Mountain twice, 1995 and 1998. 95 they opened the show with Right Now, and in 98 they opened with that one, Unchained, with Gary Cherone on vocals at that concert. DC, a lot of people have their memory of the first time they heard Van Halen. You shared yours earlier on the program. Yeah. I was on the school bus, 9th grade, Valley West. I went to Wyoming Valley West, and there was this kind of cool hierarchy on the bus. The upperclassmen, they got to sit in the back of the bus. So they had the last 3 or 4 seats. And they brought the boombox, and they controlled the music. Okay. And as you ascended up, eventually you moved to the back, and you could bring your boombox. But in 9th grade, you just sat there sort of in the middle of the bus, front of the bus, and listened. And that's how it was. And this kid named Corey McGee used to bring Van Halen every day. And the first Van Halen record. Hearing Running with the Devil and Eruption. That was the first time I heard Eruption, of course. And you know, obviously, all of a sudden you're a fan. You know, all of a sudden you're going out and buying the record yourself, and eventually you're in the back of the bus bringing the Van Halen a couple years later with the 1984 record. But you know, so many people have these fond memories of this artist that they literally grew up with. You know, and I heard some people talking about air guitaring to Eddie Van Halen. And they used to air guitar, and I was thinking about it. I never air guitared to Eddie Van Halen. I would do Angus Young, I would do Pete Townsend, I would do Ace Frehley. It was almost like I wasn't even worthy to air guitar to Eddie Van Halen. It's been too hard, you know, too challenging, you know, too overwhelming. So, you know, we talk about it with such affection, and you know, we're going to share some stories right now. We'll play a couple of local artists sharing their thoughts on Eddie Van Halen. This is guitarist Justin Mazur.
Eddie Van Halen was a true original. In fact, he was an impossibly original guitarist. Everything about his philosophy and technique encompassed what it means to be an artist. He was able to take a wide range of influences and make them his own without wearing any of those influences on his sleeve. That's what being an artist is. No band, to me, really sounds like Van Halen, specifically because of Eddie's guitar playing. His approach was innovative, melodic, bluesy, emotional, and all around otherworldly. Aside from his specific musical technique, I think the most important influence that he left behind is to do your own thing, take chances, and try to create something that's honest. Rest in peace, Eddie.
Here are some thoughts from guitarist Pat Flynn, known for his work with Mere Mortals and Underground Saints.
Eddie Van Halen. I think when the news came out that he died, there was this collective silence that came over many musicians and especially guitar players, and it forced us to reflect and express how much Eddie meant to us. And for myself, it was impossible to do. I just couldn't do it, you know, and I realized there was this deep, sacred bond that you had with this guy since you're 12 years old. And in recent months before his death, I felt compelled to relearn all the Van Halen songs I thought I knew like the back of my hand since I was 13. You know, and I totally rediscovered all over again the genius of his playing, tone, and songwriting, and how hard he swung as a guitar player, and he did it all with this humongous constant grin. You know, those albums and songs are still alive, they're still fresh, and they truly are on fire, and it's brought so much joy to my life, and I'm sure thousands of other people, and I can't thank Eddie enough for that. So rest in peace, brother, and thank you.
Hey everybody, Mike Miz here. Alan, thanks for asking me on. So it wasn't until very recently that I actually got into Van Halen. Always appreciated the songs I heard on the radio, but one of my favorite guitar players, Tom Bukovac, has been doing a show on YouTube called Homeschooling. He was talking about the greatest pick scrapes in rock and roll recently, and he brought up the song Mean Street off the Fair Warning album. And right when David Lee Roth says, "Lord, strike that poor boy down," there's the greatest pick scrape that goes into the ending riff of the song. And that actually started me on a very recent obsession with Van Halen. I had no idea Eddie was sick at all, and I've just been driving around Nashville blasting Van Halen for the last week or so here. I can't say enough about Eddie's technical skills on the guitar. You know, there was Jimi Hendrix, and then there was Eddie Van Halen, and he's just one of the greatest. He will always be one of the greatest. Rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen.
Mike Miz, Pat Flynn, and Justin Mazur there sharing their thoughts on the late Eddie Van Halen. Let's listen to that pick scrape that Mike was talking about. This is Mean Street.
kicks, ones like you ain't never seen. This is home. This is Main Street. It's our home. The only one I know. And we don't worry about tobacco, 'cause we're sick of these four walls. Now what you think is nothing might be something after all. Now you know this ain't no through street and this dead ahead. The poor folks play for keeps down here. They're the living dead. Come on down to Main Street. They're dancing now out on Main Street. Dance, baby. It's always here now, my friend. It ain't once upon a time. It's all over but the shouting. I come to take what's mine. We're searching for the latest thing. A break in this routine. Talking some new kicks. Ones like you ain't never seen. This is home. This is Main Street. It's our home. Only one I know. This is home. See, a gun is real easy. This is Main Street. In this desperate part of town. This is home. Turns you from hunted into hunter. This is Main Street. You're gonna hunt somebody down. Wait a minute now. Somebody said fair warning, Lord. Lord, strike that poor boy down.
Van Halen here on Music on the Menu with a song called Main Street. You know, everybody, when they talk about Eddie DC, they talk about the first time they heard Eruption.
Yeah.
And I had the privilege and the honor to interview Eddie Van Halen twice. And the first time was in '95, and I asked him about Eruption, and it's a pretty wild story. It wasn't even really intended to be on the record. We're going to cue that clip for you up right here. Check this out. Eddie Van Halen talking with me at the Times Leader 25 years ago.
And back in '78, when you were recording the first record, and you were recording Eruption, and that did you know that what you were doing personally at guitar was groundbreaking?
Not really. It was really funny how Eruption even ended up on the record. It wasn't meant to be, really. I was in the studio waiting. I always like to show up early and warm up, and I was practicing my guitar solo for a gig at the Whiskey on the weekend. And Ted Templeman happened to walk in as I was playing it. He's going, "What the f*** is that?" I go, "Oh, it's the thing I do live." And he goes, "Yeah, well, we got to put that on the record. I never heard anything like it, you know." So I'm going, "Oh, wow, I've played this way for years." You know, it's like, it was nothing new to me. But I guess it shocked a few people. But it was just part of my playing for so many years that it wasn't really any surprise to me, but I mean, I was very surprised that people took it the way they did.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that just being in school at the time, we were just, always on the bus in our little box, class, on the school every day, over and over, reminded it, like just sitting there and shaking our heads like this is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I just played, for me, and what I thought was kind of amusing, though, is that after it come out, other people started doing it, and I could tell that they were doing it like a trick.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas with me, it was really just part of my playing since I started playing.
Eddie Van Halen, back in 1995, talking about Eruption. Let's listen to some other local artists and musicians sharing their thoughts on King Edward. Here's Joe Wegelski.
This is Wiggy from SI Studios and Big King Moose, talking about the passing of Eddie Van Halen. One of the things that I always admired about Eddie, well, his playing, obviously, but the other thing was the fact that he always had this huge smile on his face when he was playing. He was totally in the moment, and he was enjoying every second of it. Eddie's tone was off the map. His guitar sounded so good all the time, and it was one of those things where as soon as you heard the guitar playing, you immediately knew that it was Eddie playing that guitar.
This is Tom Flannery. I was 13 when I first heard Van Halen. I was not prepared. I cannot overstate what this band did to the heads of 8th grade kids. It was like losing your musical virginity. No band brings back adolescent memories quite like Van Halen. We may have wanted to hang out with Roth, but we wanted to be Eddie. He was impossibly handsome, had the TV star wife, and before the first song on their debut album was over, guitar players all over the world knew that they were competing for second place. His talent was fully formed right from the beginning. It was Roth who earlier in their career said the reason critics liked Elvis Costello more than Van Halen was because most critics looked like Elvis Costello. But to be fair, they didn't really understand. Nobody had ever heard anyone like Eddie before. It took them all a while to catch up to what we already knew. We didn't have to explain it. We didn't have to write about it. All we had to do was turn it up. We already knew he was the best ever.
Here's Paul Young, known for his work with Panacea.
My first memory of Eddie Van Halen was when, probably 6 years old, 84, 85, Thriller, he played on Michael Jackson. He's like a god. But as I became a musician and a guitar player, I became more to appreciate his artistry. I mean, he's obviously skilled and the greatest guitar player of all time. But I mean, some of the more delicate things he's done, the acoustic tracks, the piano stuff. I mean, his rhythm guitar playing is off the charts. I mean, I really love his rhythm guitar playing, and they're some of the greatest riffs ever. I mean, he was just the man. He just had it all. Sad passing.
That was Paul Young, Tom Flannery, and Joe Wegelski sharing their thoughts on Edward Van Halen. In the early 80s, DC, a lot of bands in rock start experimenting with keyboards.
Yeah.
It almost, I really do think that the instrument became so in vogue after New Wave that the record labels were telling everybody you're going to have keyboards on your records to get on the radio.
Yeah.
And so you saw, Ozzy Osbourne do some stuff with keyboards and Judas Priest even with the Turbo record.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss later on the Crazy Nights album. They're dabbling in it. But if you listen back to those records from some of those hard rock bands, it was almost like they were trying to fit the circle through the square. It really, and it doesn't necessarily hold up that well. Van Halen was totally different. Eddie didn't dabble with the keyboards. He had been trained as a pianist before he ever played the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And he mastered them. He was writing songs on keyboards. He was arranging songs on the keyboard. And so when he put them into Van Halen songs such as I'll Wait or Dreams or Love Walks In, Right Now, When It's Love, Jump. I mean, Jump has a guitar solo and a keyboard solo on a pop song that went to number one.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just crazy talent. So when you listen to those old Van Halen records with the keys, either the stuff they did on the 1984 record or later with Sammy Hagar, it just sounds incredible, like this one right here, Dreams. Dreams from Van Halen here on Music on the Menu from 1986 from the 5150 record, the first album that the band released with Sammy Hagar on lead vocals. DC, I saw this great interview with Hagar a couple of years ago where he was talking about the period of time after they recorded the album but before it was released.
Okay.
And they were hearing all the scuttlebutt about, I don't know how Van Halen's going to, how's this going to go? Fans being skeptical and some naysayers too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they had the record done. And he goes, man, we're just sitting there like, wait till I hear this damn thing. Like, they knew they had the bomb and they just hadn't dropped it yet.
Yes.
And, he just said it was just a fun time where they were like, had this ace up their sleeve, where do we lay this baby out on the table? There's a moment in that song Dreams, which I want to cue up. Okay. I was, I guess, about 86. I guess I would have been 19 years old when that record came out. Already was a fan. I'd already seen them in concert. I'd already had all the records. And there's a moment before the guitar solo where the guitars is like the do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Okay. And I remember that was the moment for me. That just slayed me. It's more explosive. It just sounded bigger and badder, than anything they'd ever done before. And I knew right then that Van Halen was going to be just fine. Check it out. Game over. Heard that, DC, and never looked back.
Nice.
I still enjoy the Dave records, obviously, but was totally on board with Sammy Hagar right there.
All right.
Let's listen to some more musicians share their thoughts on Eddie Van Halen. This one's from Billy Spanton.
Where do I start? Man, the best guitar player, in my opinion, to ever pick up the instrument. Huge loss to the musical world. Not just rock and roll, but all facets of music. First time I heard Eddie Van Halen, when I heard Eruption, I think it was, I was blown away. I was like, it sounded to me as like somebody came from another planet and picked the guitar up. I mean, that's my only way I can describe it. And, you know, when you think about how he played, it was like someone not of this world. I mean, that's how unique and great he was. So he'll be missed, man. And as a band, soundtrack to my childhood, like many of us, you know. Just great stuff, great musician, great guitar player, and not just a virtuoso, but he had the ability to write good, solid songs that are memorable and timeless as well. Rest in peace, Eddie. You'll always be missed, but your music will live on forever.
Here's Dustin Douglas.
There was and never will be another Eddie Van Halen. Just changed the game completely. Being the age that I am, my introduction to him was a record called Van Halen Balance, and then I wore out their live Right Here, Right Now double disc CD. I listened to those two records so much, just wore them out. And yeah, guitarists and music fans alike have definitely lost a one-of-a-kind, absolute monster of his craft. Thank God we have the music to remember him by.
Here's Neil Nicastro.
The two things that maybe no one has said yet about Van Halen's playing is he normalized these incredible guitar solos in all of the songs of the 80s that came after him. What was expected of guitarists was such high-level playing, and I think that was largely due to him. It, of course, inspired all of us to practice, but I think I'll never lose that childhood wonder when I listen to him, because you can be an incredible guitarist and still not be able to do the things that Van Halen did. He'll definitely be missed.
Neil Nicastro, Dustin Douglas, and Billy Spanton, they are sharing their thoughts on Eddie Van Halen. You know, DC, so many of the musicians that we've talked to throughout the night, and they were kind enough to send us their thoughts. You know, obviously we're in COVID. Would have loved to have had 15 guitar players sitting around here in the studio with us, but
sure,
that's not going to happen right now. But, you know, they talked about the music and how it influenced them, but so many of them also talked about adolescence and you know, they kind of came of age to Van Halen. And, you know, I remember, DC, I was in 11th grade. I had my first bad crush.
Yeah.
There was this girl, and she sat behind me in chemistry class, and she had a boyfriend, you know, which at that time is like, you know, might as well be married, you know?
Right.
And the song I'll Wait was real popular at the time. So it was the spring of 84. And that song always reminded me of her. And, you know, I used to listen to I'll Wait and say, oh, I'll wait. You know, she won't be with that guy forever. And, you know, sure enough, you know, a little while later down the road, I wound up going out with her for a little bit. You know? So patience is a virtue, I guess.
Sure.
And another, you know, story like that with adolescence. So the next year, I'm like 17 years old, and I meet my first serious girlfriend, and I met her at my house. We were hanging out, and one girl called, "Hey, do you mind if I bring my friend over?" Mm-hmm. And she comes over with her girlfriend, and I walked, and my mother yells upstairs, "Alan, your friends are here." And I walk down the stairs and see the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life. Oh. And you know, so what Love Walks In from Van Halen was sort of our song, because I literally met her in my house. Nice. You know, I wound up going out with her for a long time. Yeah. And then we break up a couple years later, and I'm listening to When It's Love from Van Halen all summer. You know, that was the song that was on the radio. Uh-huh. So that song always takes me back to that summer. And so you have these connections to these songs like everybody's been telling here throughout the show. A funny thing about her, too, was 10 years later, you know, we're both in our early 30s, and we find ourselves single again, and we bump into each other, and we wind up hanging out a little bit. And what do we do in the summer of 1998? We go see Van Halen. Ah. Here's When It's Love. Van Halen, When It's Love from 1988 from the OU 812 record. So many thoughts on Eddie Van Halen, DC, from so many people. And, you know, we have so many people weighing in with us here tonight. You think about Van Halen, too. So many of the classic rock bands are British. You know, they came from the British invasion. You know, the Beatles and the Who and Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones. Mm-hmm. So you start thinking, well, who are the American classic, you know, rock bands? You know, Aerosmith and the Eagles and, you know, Kiss and Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I mean, we think of Bruce and Tom as solo artists, but the bands were a big part of, obviously, what they do. But, you know, Guns N' Roses. But Van Halen is really an American classic rock band. And, you know, the kind of ironic thing about it is they come from Southern California. And they're a hard rock band, you know, laid back California, 1978. You know, you're thinking of, you know, the Eagles, really.
Sure.
And these guys come out of there with this, you know, this phenomenon on the guitar, you know, and, you know, listening to even some of the interviews that I had done with Eddie in 95 and in 98, he kind of talks a little bit about how, you know, rock stars come and go. And, you know, he was a musician. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I did a couple of days ago was I watched some of the videos, and the 3 videos that they put out from the 1984 record, Jump, Panama, and Hot for Teacher, were on MTV in very heavy rotation for you know, a year. And Eddie was pretty good at being a rock star. I mean, you know, the twirls and the spins and the leaps and the big smile. And the Hot for Teacher video, he jumps on top of this desk and walks right towards the camera, smiling for, you know, a good 30 seconds. And so, man, he just left us so much and so many great memories. Let's get some more thoughts from a few other local guitarists here. This is Mike Krakosky, known for his work with Plus 3.
Although I wouldn't consider Eddie Van Halen an influence on my guitar playing or songwriting per se, I would have to say that behind my brother Ray, he was the second biggest inspiration for me to even start playing guitar. I remember when I was 10 years old, I decided to form a lip sync band in my backyard with the neighbors. I grabbed my plastic guitar, painted it red, white, and black stripes, and played all the Van Halen songs. I was lucky enough years later to see them live on the Right Now tour at Montage Mountain, and even luckier to get to play Panama multiple times with my band Plus 3 back in the day. Everything Eddie did was great, from Happy Trails to Eruption. He'll truly be missed. Happy Trails, Ed.
Hi, everybody. This is Christian Gratz. Eddie Van Halen was the American dream. He had the sex appeal, unlimited talent, and did it all with a grin on his face. All the guys wanted to be like him, and all the girls wanted to be with him. He was the next step after Hendrix, and after hearing Eruption in late 1978, you realized the guitar god Holy Trinity was now complete. For me, Eddie Van Halen is no less an innovator than Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs, Da Vinci, Tesla, and the Wright brothers, and he will be missed immensely. Rest in peace, Edward Van Halen.
Chris Hludzik here. Eddie was known mostly for his innovation and prowess on the guitar, but what should also be remembered was that Eddie wasn't just a guitarist, but rather a complete musician. Writing, arranging, and producing, he was the total package. I was 11 years old when Van Halen's Balance album came out. It was one of the first CDs I bought with my own money. I loved that album. Another favorite is Fair Warning, the underrated gem from 1981 that started out life as a solo project for Eddie. Though he may be gone from this world in body, wherever a young kid picks up a guitar for the first time, Eddie will be there in spirit. Rock in peace, Eddie.
Chris Hludzik, Christian Gratz, and Mike Krakosky sharing their thoughts on Eddie Van Halen. You know, Chris said there about inspiring kids to pick up the guitar for the first time. DC, I wonder how many he also inspired to put it back down. You know,
put it back there.
You know, oh, get me one of these. I want to do this, you know, and get the guitar for Christmas when you're 12 and 13, 14, and you cannot play Eruption, and, you know, you don't pick it up anymore. I mean, you know,
got to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Eddie always said. Just keep playing, man.
Yeah.
Just keep playing. You know, reading up on him and reading so much that came out about him over the past 12 days or so, you know, and so many, every musician in the world issued some sort of statement. And, you know, you saw the circles that he traveled in was very much, you know, the hard rock community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you didn't see, I mean, maybe people like Bono and Bruce Springsteen and, you know, issued some condolences, but you saw it from Angus Young. You saw it from Slash. You saw it from Ace Frehley. You know, this was a guy that, you know, Rob Halford said you know, I didn't know that, you know, Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath used to have dinner with Eddie Van Halen. They toured together in 1978 and stayed friends forever.
Yeah.
You know, this was a guy that, you know, wasn't a musical snob. He would go out and see other bands, hang out. He had a friendship with Gene Simmons, obviously, because, you know, Gene produced the demos. The solo on Christine 16 from Kiss, which was the single, was Eddie Van Halen. You know, he demoed it, and Gene told Ace to play the same thing because it sounded so great.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a guy who had a friendship with Dimebag from Pantera, actually donated a guitar, brought the guitar to Dimebag's funeral.
Yeah.
His personal guitar from 1978, not a copy, but his own that he played, and buried it with Dimebag.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, literally gave it to the family, you know, put it in the ground with the man, you know, a cherished guitar.
Wow.
And so he would have a friendship with like Pantera, and yet he played with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, if you were a musician, I think you were pretty cool with Eddie. Here's one of those songs that got everybody's attention right out of the gate, Running with the Devil. Van Halen with Running with the Devil from the 1978 debut self-titled album. That's one of those songs that melted everybody's ears back in the when that record first came out. Let's get back to some more local artists sharing their thoughts on Eddie Van Halen. This is Jay Luke.
Like just about every musician on earth, we've been rattled with the sudden loss of one of the greatest, most brilliant musicians to walk the earth, named Edward Van Halen. It has been a tough loss, one of the toughest losses of anybody who, meant so much as far as guitar playing and as far as innovation. There will never be another Eddie Van Halen. He changed the way that the instrument was played and changed the way that the instrument was made. Ever since he came about into the scene, the way he built his guitar became the template of how every guitar was built shortly thereafter. That still is a template today. And to say that his loss was, a tough one is an understatement. The hole that he left in this earth will never be replaced. Rest in peace, Edward Van Halen. You meant so much to so many.
That was Jay Luke. DC, it's hard for me to pick out what tunes we wanted to play tonight. And we got a little clip here from Aaron Fink, formerly of Breaking Benjamin, now does work with Gentleman East and Lifer. And basically, Aaron, unknowingly, when he sent us his thoughts, put together what would have been my dream show as far as if we could play all the songs that Aaron mentions here when he shares his thoughts on Eddie. Check this out.
Hey, everybody. Aaron Fink here. Wow. Eddie Van Halen. What an amazing life. A hero to millions, including myself. Running with the Devil might literally be the first song I ever heard. My dad was a disc jockey, and I remember going with him to the station and him ripping that through the speakers. The siren noise, the bass thump, the string rake, and then Dave's howl. Years later, when I started playing guitar, Eddie was on the cover of every magazine, everybody copying his style. And even with the lead singer change, the gems kept coming. Eruption, Running with the Devil, Jamie's Crying, Ain't Talking About Love, You Really Got Me, Ice Cream Man, Dance the Night Away, Beautiful Girls, and The Cradle Will Rock. Everybody Wants Some, Mean Street, Unchained, Cathedral, Pretty Woman, Dance in the Street, Jump, Jump. I'll Wait, Panama, Drop Dead Legs, Hot for Teacher, Why Can't This Be Love, Dreams, Best of Both Worlds, Love Walks In, Finish What You Started, When It's Love, Feels So Good, Pound Cake, Run Around 316, Top of the World, and Right Now. Wow, so good. The impish grin, the look, the moves, a musician's musician. But to me, his true gift was as a songwriter and arranger. And most importantly, he was a doting father. Shine on, Eddie Van Halen. Shine on.
Aaron Fink, who also has released quite a few solo records the last couple of years, very prolific with his work. Appreciate him weighing in tonight and sharing his thoughts, as well as the 15 other guitarists that have joined us here throughout the hour. The last time that I saw Van Halen, DC, was 5 years ago up at Bethel Woods.
Yeah.
It was 2015. It was towards the end of the tour. They had only done a couple of shows after that. So I guess I saw one of Van Halen's last shows. We didn't know it at the time. Eddie was 60 years old at the time. And I do remember, and I told you this on your show last week when I called in, I went to that show to see Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Dave at this point, you never know what you're going to get sometimes. But I remember calling my friends up and saying, we got to go see Eddie. Let's go see King Edward.
Yeah.
And, we went up there with that purpose. And when he was playing Eruption that night, you took it in, you absorbed it. You knew this is, this guy's iconic at this point, and you are in the presence of greatness and enjoy it. And so it was a beautiful night. And I'm so glad that I went up there and caught them on the final tour. Like everybody that joined us here on the program tonight, I want to thank him for the memories, and I want to thank him for the music. We're going to sign off now, and I'm going to leave you with some words from Eddie Van Halen. This is from an interview that I did with him from 1998, and certainly what he says here hits home a lot right now, but it is absolutely true. Rest in power, King Edward.
Where do you see Van Halen, down the road? I mean, last time I interviewed you, you said that you planned on being a musician until you died, and
Well, I don't plan on being one. That's all I am. You know, I mean, that's all I know how to do is make music, and musicians make music till the day they drop. You know, rock stars come and go. It all depends on what you get into this business for, so to speak. I just fell into it because that's all I knew how to do was make music. You know, a lot of people want to be rock stars, but what the hell is that? If you really think about it, you know, when all is said and done, the only thing that's left is that music.